Chapter 10. Reflection before reaction. Once a person begins noticing the forces shaping their thoughts, emotions, desires, and identity, a new possibility gradually emerges. The possibility of pause. This may sound small. It is not. Much of human life unfolds automatically. Stimulus appears, emotion activates, interpretation forms, reaction follows. The process happens so quickly that people often experience their reactions as inevitable rather than constructed. Anger becomes speech before awareness arrives. Fear becomes avoidance before examination begins. Desire becomes pursuit before reflection asks whether the object genuinely aligns with deeper values. The unexamined mind moves rapidly from feeling to conclusion, from impulse to identification, from emotional activation to certainty. Reflection interrupts this speed, and interruption changes something profound. The examined life does not begin when people stop having emotions, desires, tribal instincts, or conditioned reactions. Those remain deeply human. The examined life begins when awareness enters early enough to observe the process while it is happening rather than only afterward. This creates psychological distance, not detachment from life, distance from automaticity. A person begins noticing I am feeling anger, rather than this anger is unquestionably truth. I feel rejected, rather than this proves I am unworthy. I want this, rather than this desire must define me. That argument threatens my identity, rather than that person must be evil. The difference may appear subtle externally. Internally, it is enormous. Because once awareness enters, the individual is no longer fully fused with the reaction itself. This capacity is sometimes called metacognition, the mind observing its own processes. Human consciousness becomes capable not only of thinking, but of noticing thought. Not only of feeling emotion, but of observing emotion. Not only of defending identity, but of becoming aware that identity is defending itself. This recursive awareness may be one of the most important capacities human beings possess, and yet it requires cultivation. The nervous system is optimized primarily for survival and rapid adaptation, not detached reflection. Under emotional activation, consciousness narrows naturally. Fear compresses perspective. Anger simplifies complexity. Tribal threat accelerates certainty. The mind seeks immediate orientation and action. Reflection, therefore, often feels slower, less emotionally satisfying, and initially less certain than reactive cognition. This partly explains why modern environments can make reflection difficult. Contemporary life increasingly rewards immediacy, instant opinion, instant outrage, instant response, instant identity signaling, instant emotional participation. Attention economies amplify emotional activation because emotionally activated minds engage more intensely. Outrage spreads faster than nuance. Certainty travels faster than ambiguity. Social media platforms reward rapid reaction far more reliably than slow examination. The result is a culture increasingly organized around reflex rather than reflection. People react before understanding, condemn before investigating, identify before examining, share before verifying, feel before interpreting. And because these reactions occur socially and publicly, the emotional momentum intensifies. Entire groups become synchronized around emotional states before careful thought has time to emerge. In this environment, reflection can almost feel unnatural, but the examined life depends upon recovering it. Reflection does not mean endless hesitation or paralysis. Human beings cannot live without action, instinct, or emotional responsiveness. Reflection simply introduces conscious examination between stimulus and response. That gap matters because many of the most destructive human behaviors emerge precisely when no gap exists at all. An insecure person instantly attacks. A frightened person instantly retreats. A threatened tribe instantly demonizes. An emotionally activated crowd instantly simplifies. A wounded ego instantly rationalizes. A reactive mind becomes easy to manipulate because it remains governed largely by external triggers. Reflection weakens this manipulability, not perfectly, but meaningfully. The person begins noticing, when emotions are escalating perception, when tribal loyalty is distorting evaluation, when insecurity is shaping aggression, when identity is generating defensiveness, when desire is bypassing discernment, when certainty feels emotionally rewarding, when narratives are forming automatically. Again, the goal is not emotional suppression. The goal is awareness within experience. A reflective person still feels deeply. They still experience anger, fear, attraction, envy, loyalty, excitement, grief, hope, shame, ambition, and longing. The difference is that these experiences are increasingly examined rather than unconsciously obeyed. This distinction gradually transforms identity itself. The unexamined mind tends to equate feeling with truth, thought with self, desire with destiny, tribe with morality, reaction with authenticity. Reflection introduces separation. A person begins realizing, I have thoughts, but I am not identical to every thought. I experience emotions, but emotions are not sovereign authorities. I inherit impulses, but inheritance is not obligation. I belong to groups, but belonging does not require total psychological fusion. This awareness creates increasing self-possession, not because conditioning disappears, but because the person becomes less mechanically governed by it. Over time, reflection also deepens humility. A reflective person begins noticing how quickly the mind constructs explanations after emotional conclusions have already formed. They notice how frequently certainty arrives before understanding. They become aware of how difficult genuine objectivity actually is. This recognition often softens judgment, not into passivity, but into greater caution regarding one's own certainty. Because the more honestly a person observes their own mind, the harder it becomes to maintain the illusion that they are operating from some perfectly neutral position outside human psychology. And perhaps this is one of the quiet paradoxes of the examined life. The more awareness increases, the less psychologically comfortable simplistic certainty often becomes. Complexity becomes more visible. Contradictions become harder to ignore. Ambiguity becomes more tolerable. The person may feel less emotionally intoxicated by outrage, ideology, status, or tribal identity because they begin seeing the psychological machinery underneath them while it operates. This can feel lonely at times. Reflection often slows emotional synchronization with crowds, but it also creates the possibility of something rare: conscious participation in one's own mind rather than unconscious possession by it.